Okay, well, what are we going to do today? Well, in the two lessons that Pat taught on it's not just black and white, she was introducing the idea of value and the idea of shading. And so I want to kind of touch on that and give you some things to continue to work with. You see this acorn here. We're going to draw that in just a bit. If you're going to draw along with me, it depends on what you're using. If you're using digital, then just have your tablet ready. If you're doing paper and pencil, then make sure you have a number two pencil, and you might want to have an eraser handy. But that's about all you'll need. I'm going to turn these off, these layers off for a second. And I want to show you something down here. Let me go all the way down to this bottom layer. And one thing I wanted to show you, a good exercise to do in shading is, and Pat kind of showed it, but I want to demonstrate it again if you didn't see those videos, is just get a pencil and you want to just start drawing as light as you possibly can. And then the further you go, the darker you want to make it. And that's not working the way I'm wanting it to right now because I'm pressing harder and it should be getting darker. So I'm not sure what I did. Sometimes when I tweak or change something, it doesn't work right. Let's see. Let's try a different brush. See if this one works. No, this one's going to do the same thing. It's not going to change color for me. So that illustrates. I promise you, this actually did. Oh, I know. Hey, never mind. I turned down the opacity. That's a little digital trick that I use for doing some things. So let me try that again. Okay, digital is fun, but sometimes if you don't remember everything you have done or the settings you've set, it doesn't always work the way you want it to. Let me go back to where I was. Okay, so start drawing as lightly as you can, and then press a little harder. Press a little harder and press a little harder and get it as black as you can. And the idea, and I can't get this perfect because of the limitations of this software, but the idea is you want to practice going from as light a value to as dark a value as you can, but you want to try to get it as even as you can. And so this is something that you'll want to practice and practice and practice and keep trying until you can do that, because you'll find it will help you a lot in the process of learning to shade and make things look 3D, is to just have a good feel for value. And in case you didn't see the lesson, when we talk about value, it means light and dark. And what you're going to find is as you learn to build pictures, as you learn to develop as an artist, a good use of value really will help your artwork stand out. And this is also true in photography. A good range of value. You want to try to avoid having something that's just totally gray or totally black or even totally in the middle. You want a good range of values represented in your drawings. Now, there are exceptions to that. And again, if you watch the art class video, then Pat shows you some of those. But particularly as a beginner, one thing that you want to do is learn how to use value. And just like here, now this is a color photo, obviously, but here we've got some good strong darks, and we've got some good lights, and we've got a very good range of dark, not totally black, although we're getting close down here, but we have a good range of value in this. And if you have the ability, if you have a computer where you can take a photo like this and then convert it into just grayscale, which is just all black and white and gray, you can sometimes see the range of value better than you can with a color photo. So that's what the lesson was on. This is just a good practice exercise to get better at not just recognizing value, but at controlling it. And that's just, get your pencil and then, you can draw you a circle and shade it. That's something that you do in the art class lesson, and I'm not going to mess with that because we're going to go back to a little different kind of drawing. I'm going to clear this layer here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn back on the other layers. Okay, so we are going to draw this today, and this class is going to put together everything that we've covered so far into creating a drawing. Now, again, if you're working digitally, this is going to be a little different than if you're working with pencil and paper. But the one thing that I want you to always remember is use what you have, not what you don't have. In other words, if you don't have a tablet and digital, well, fine, don't worry about that. If all you've got is a ballpoint pen and paper, work with that. Learn to adjust to whatever medium you're working with. And I had to do that today because I wanted to try to create a black and white sketch here, a drawing of this. And I'm going to turn this off. Okay. Oops, not that one. I'm turning this one off. Okay, so I have got a shrunken down and cropped version of that first picture. And I've tried to create a drawing frame that's about the right size so that it's, we can make use of some of the things that we've learned with negative space. We're going to draw the shape and we're going to shade it in. And I will use some different tools than you do, but you use, what you have and do the best you can with it. Remember, all drawing is a learning process, and you're going to learn from every single drawing that you do. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to start with my HB pencil. So if you have a pencil, if that's what you're working with, fine. If not, then work with what you have. I'm going to make sure that my pencil size isn't too big, okay? And if you're working digitally, you can you can shrink down your pencil. I'm going to take those off of there. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to my reference, and I notice that the beginning of this stem is almost halfway across the top. So I'm getting my initial position here, and I'm going to just draw that in. And my digital pencil has gotten a little out of line, so I drew somewhere I didn't really want to draw. Take that off. And take that off. Let's go back and try it one more time. Just about halfway. Okay, it's still not lining up the way I want it to, but I'm going to just go ahead and not worry about it being too close to where I want. So I'm going to just come down, and remember, we want to look at this shape here. We want to look at the actual object, the contour of it, and I'm going to come down and bring it in kind of a nice arc. And again, I'm not trying to do a photo reproduction here, okay? It doesn't have to be exactly the way that picture looks. What I want to do is get used to sketching, okay? And so I'm going to draw that little bit there. Got a little pointy thing here. I'm not going to get quite all of it on. Okay. And then, so I've got this shape. Now I'm going to come over on the other side. And I'm going to come down here. And I try to, as much as possible, get in a good position. So here I've got this whole big area of negative space that I can draw. Okay, and so I could look at that, but I'm going to actually be both looking at that and I'm going to be looking at the contour of this acorn. So I'm going to come down. And I may tweak it a bit here. Okay, now I come down here. There's just a little tiny area where the cap of the acorn comes in, and then goes in kind of a nice gentle curve all the way down almost to the bottom. Stops a little bit short of the bottom. I'm just going to do a really nice gentle curve. And right about there. Okay, and I'm going to come back and strengthen this a little bit. I'm using a pressure sensitive stylus, so sometimes it changes the width of what I'm drawing depending on how much I'm pushing on it. Okay, so, and then we've got this little, I don't know what you call a little nubby there on the end. And so I'm going to just draw, if you look at it, it looks like kind of a little tiny cylinder with a tip. Okay, and I don't really have a lot of room at the bottom there, so I'm just going to put that there. Okay, now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come about to this side here. And I'm going to bring it down in kind of an arc. I'm going to probably come back and tweak all of these in just a minute. And then I'm going to come down. Ooh, and I'm going to be off on my little nubby here, I think. Whatever that thing is. Okay, it's a little off center. It's off center here too, but this is a little bit too much. So I'll probably come in and take that out and then go back. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Nope, don't want that either. There we go. I didn't even know that button did that. Okay. Okay. And now as I look, I'm pretty good with this one. I'm not as happy with this side. I'm going to kind of come over here a bit. I'm going to take that inner lining out. And I'm a little happier with that. And then I'm going to bring this front area around. And it's just going to be a very gentle, not quite a straight line, kind of a gentle curve. Just give a hint of the shape. Okay, and this is a little bit too straight. If you look here, this is a little bit curvier. I'm going to come back in here and add a little bit more curve to that. Now again, I'll go back to make my eraser a little bit smaller. Let's see. Let me try, see if that looks a little bit better. Although this could come in, and you can tweak all day long and have fun, and that's again, that's one reason I love digital art, because it's a whole lot easier if you make a mistake to just say, well, let's tweak that just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to come up here, and I'm going to finish bringing this in, and I'm going to kind of give a little hint as to how it's attached. And then if you notice here, we've got, I'm not sure exactly what that is. I don't know if that's kind of a fungal growth or something on the little stem. But whatever it is, we're going to draw it. Now, sometimes, I'm not going to do it today, for sake of time, because we only have a little bit of time to work with. But okay, sometimes what I would do, and this is what I'd done earlier on that other layer, is I'd come over here and I would turn the opacity down, which means opacity just means how solid and how dark the lines or the drawing are. And what that would let me do is then I could add another layer and I could come in and draw on top of it, make my lines stronger, make more adjustments. But I'm not going to do that today for sake of time. So there we've got it. Is it perfect? No. I could make this a little bit bigger. This should be a little, actually, a little shorter and squatter. But overall, we get the idea that it's an acorn. Now, we're going to add some shading to this. And again, depending on how you're working, that's going to work differently. I'm working digitally, so I'm going to experiment with a couple different brushes here. And right now, I've got my my color puck set to black, and that's going to change. Let's see. Luminance. Nope. Saturation. That's what I want. Okay. So, yep, that's going to work. And I want to see. I'm going to just take this brush. Now, if you're using a pencil, you're going to do it differently. You're going to maybe sketch in a little bit with the side of your pencil very lightly. I'm going to just kind of go right along the edge here. Now, if you watched the art class lesson, Pat talked about thinking about where your light source is. And in this, your light source is coming from the right and a little bit above the acorn. And so we keep that in mind as we draw our shadow and our shading. Now, one thing I can do here, if I want to, I can change my color a bit to more of a gray. You would do this if you're working with a pencil by simply not pushing as hard. Okay, when you're drawing something like this, you want to follow the contour of your object. And then I'm going to go down here to one of my blenders. Actually going to increase the size on that a bit. Nope. Some of these blenders are really easy to use. Some of them are not. And I'm still getting a feel for which ones I like and which ones I don't like so much. And I had one perfect before, and I forgot which one it was. Okay. This one will work. When I draw something like this and I think of how a little tiny acorn can fall down and maybe be picked up by a squirrel. We have some squirrels in our front yard that, well, we don't have any oak trees, so we don't have any acorns, but we have some squirrels, and they love to hide whatever it is they find in our yard. And a squirrel can take an acorn and hide it in the ground and then forget it's there. And then lo and behold, that acorn turns into a huge, massive oak tree. And it reminds me of what Jesus said in the Gospels. And he said, except a corn of wheat fall into the earth and die, it abides alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. And Jesus was talking about himself and the fact that he was going to die for us. But when I draw an acorn like this, that's what I think about, is wow, how something so small can turn into something so big and so amazing. Okay, so this is your drawing to do, okay? Really simple. It's not difficult, but you can have some fun with it. And I'm just going to keep shading here just a little bit. I'm almost done for as far as I'm going to go. Now, I haven't added in all of these little, I don't know what you call them, but in art we would call it texture. And that's something we will get to, but we're not there yet. What we're working on is value, using light and dark, and don't be afraid to use that, okay? And we are just about out of time. So I'm going to wrap this up. What I want you to do is use the photo that I've got here and do your own drawing of an acorn with shading, and put in as much detail as you want to, but do the acorn itself at least, and see how well you can do it with whatever it is you're working with, whether it's digital or whether it's pencil or pen or even watercolor and a brush. Experiment, do some different things, and draw an acorn this week and practice your shading, practice all of the things that you've learned up till now, and I will see you next week. And next week we start talking about color, and then it gets fun. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this class. I'm Jim Pence with See the Light, and I will see you next week.